1,000 years. For 1,000 years, it stood as the shield of Christendom, a beacon of civilization, the heir to the Roman Empire. Constantinople, the queen of cities. By the 15th century, however, this once mighty empire was a shadow of its former self. The Byzantine Empire, once spanning the Mediterranean, had shrunk to little more than the city itself and a few scattered territories. Its walls, the legendary Theodosian walls, had repelled countless armies for centuries, but they were now crumbling, much like the empire they protected. Yet, within these walls lived a people who still called themselves Romans, clinging to a glorious past, unaware they were standing on the precipice of history. Across the Bosporus, a new power was rising. The Ottoman Empire, fueled by ambition and faith, had expanded across Anatolia and into the Balkans, surrounding Constantinople on all sides. A young, brilliant, and utterly ruthless sultan had just ascended the throne. His name was Mehmed, and he had a singular obsession: to conquer the city his ancestors had coveted for generations. He famously declared, "There must be only one empire, one faith, and one capital in the world." And for Mehmed, that capital could only be Constantinople. Mehmed II was no ordinary ruler. He was a scholar, a military genius, and a master of logistics. He began his preparations with meticulous detail. In 1452, on the European side of the Bosporus, just a few miles north of the city, he ordered the construction of a massive fortress, Rumeli-Sar. Built in a staggering 4 months, it choked off Constantinople's access to the Black Sea, severing a vital supply line. Mehmed was not just building a fortress, he was tightening a noose. Then came the cannons. Mehmed understood that the ancient walls of Constantinople, which had withstood catapults and trebuchets, were vulnerable to a new kind of warfare: gunpowder. He hired a brilliant Hungarian engineer named Orban had first offered his services to the Byzantines, but they couldn't afford his price. Mehmed, however, paid him lavishly and gave him unlimited resources. The result was a monster: the Basilic, a supercannon over 27 feet long, capable of hurling a 1,200-pound stone ball over a mile. It was one of many cannons, an artillery train the likes of which the world had never seen. The age of stone walls was about to end in a cloud of smoke and fire. Inside the city, the mood was a mix of defiance and dread. Emperor Constantinople Palaiologos, a brave and tragic figure, did everything he could to prepare for the inevitable. He sent desperate pleas for help to the Christian kingdoms of Europe, but help was slow to come. Mired in religious politics and rivalries, the city's defenders were tragically few, perhaps only 7,000 soldiers, including about 2,000 skilled Genoese mercenaries under the command of the courageous Giovanni Giustiniani. They would face an Ottoman army estimated to be over 80,000 strong, backed by a massive fleet. On April 6, 1453, the siege began. The Ottoman cannons opened up, unleashing a relentless, deafening bombardment that shook the very foundations of the city. Day after day, the great stones smashed against the Theodosian walls. The defenders worked tirelessly, frantically repairing the damage under the cover of night. For weeks, they held on. The defenders fought with incredible courage, repelling wave after wave of Ottoman attacks. They even managed a small naval victory when a few Genoese ships bravely fought their way through the entire Ottoman blockade to bring precious supplies into the city's harbor, the Golden Horn. This victory, however, was a fleeting moment of hope in a sea of despair. Mehmed, frustrated by the resilient defense and the failure of his navy to breach the Golden Horn, conceived a plan of breathtaking audacity. The entrance to the Golden Horn was blocked by a massive iron chain, preventing the Ottoman fleet from entering. So, Mehmed decided to go over it. In a single night, his engineers built a greased wooden road across the hills of Galata. His men then hauled dozens of his ships, sails unfurled, out of the water, over the hill and down into the Golden Horn, completely bypassing the chain. When the defenders woke the next morning, they saw the impossible. The Ottoman fleet was now inside their harbor. The city was now attacked from all sides. The psychological blow was devastating. The siege dragged on for 53 days. The constant bombardment had taken its toll. The walls were breached in several places. The defenders were exhausted, outnumbered, and running out of hope. Mehmed offered one final chance for surrender. Constantine XI famously replied, "To surrender the city to you is not for me to decide, nor for any of its citizens, for we have all decided to die of our own free will, and we will not spare our lives." The die was cast. In the pre-dawn darkness of May 29, 1453, Mehmed launched his final, all-out assault. The roar of cannons, drums, and war cries filled the air. The first waves of attackers were thrown back, but they were followed by elite Janissary troops, the heart of the Ottoman army. The fighting on the walls was brutal and desperate. At a small, unguarded gate, the Kirkeporta, a few Ottoman soldiers managed to slip inside and raise the Ottoman flag on a tower. At the same time, the Genoese commander Giustiniani was mortally wounded, and his withdrawal from the front line caused panic among the defenders. The lines broke. The Ottoman soldiers poured into the city. Emperor Constantine XI, seeing that all was lost, cast aside his imperial regalia and charged into the fray, fighting and dying as a common soldier alongside his men. His body was never definitively identified. A hero's end for the last Roman emperor. The fall of Constantinople was not just the fall of a city, it was the end of an era. The Byzantine Empire, the last remnant of the Roman Empire, was extinguished after more than 1,100 years. The city, once the jewel of Christendom, became the capital of the Ottoman Empire. Istanbul, the Hagia Sophia, the greatest cathedral in Christendom, was converted into a mosque. Scholars fleeing the city brought with them ancient Greek manuscripts and knowledge to Western Europe, helping to fuel the Renaissance. The events sent shockwaves across the world. It changed the balance of power, rerouted trade, and reshaped the map of Europe and the Middle East for centuries to come. The fall of Constantinople was a pivotal moment, a turning point in history that marked the definitive end of the Middle Ages and heralded the dawn of the modern world. The echo of its fall can still be heard today, a powerful reminder of how empires can rise and fall, and how a single day can change the world forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history's most epic moments. See you in the next one.